Boston College's kicking game has been a bit of a mess, but they may have just found their answer.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider. Thank you all for joining us. We are a daily Boston College podcast. I've been covering Boston College for over a decade. I've been a fan for a long time, and I get all the inside scoops, analysis, and everything you need here on our daily Boston College podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Make sure you take care of your money with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's show, I'm going to talk a lot more about recruiting. It's a jam-packed time of our schedule where recruiting news is coming fast and furious, and I've got the latest takes, the newest info, and everything in between. We're going to talk about the remaining recruit I want at BC. What position does BC still need to hit on the most? And there's a commitment. We got to talk about it. So, there's been a bunch of silent commitments. There was one 2 weeks ago. I have updates on that on Eagle Insider. I'm not going to talk about that one right now, but there were there's three at the time of this recording that had not announced yet. One just came off the books. One just committed to BC, and that is Ohio. I think it's Eaton, Ohio kicker Jon Hewitt. Now, Boston College clearly had been prioritizing getting a kicker for this class. You have Liam Connor, who is out of eligibility after this year. You have Luca Lombardo, who is out of eligibility after next year. You need to bring in some depth here. You know, they went after Haran Zurikat, who ended up at Georgia. He was on an official visit. Good job identifying that kid, but he blew up. But Jon Hewitt, I don't want to consider him a fallback plan because BC was recruiting this kid for a while. He was on campus this spring. He came to visit. You know, maybe I don't want to say he was a backup plan, but Zerkat was your first one. Maybe this was your second chance, and you landed your second choice, and that's great. You don't want to go falling down further down your big board when you're going after a recruit. Now, he's part of that Cole's kicking camp. If you've ever been looking at recruiting rankings, there's a couple different services that are out there that look at kickers. And he was rated, I think, the 30th in this class for kicking, which is fine. Pretty good, solid kicker. He's, according to their scouting reports, Cole's had to say about Hewitt that he competed in January. He scored 16 points on field goals and 104 points on kickoffs at the event at the National Scholarship Camp in July last year. He scored on 33 of 36 points on field goals. He also scored 99.6 points on kickoffs. Don't ask me what that means. Sounds like it's good. I don't know Cole's system. And then at the Midwest Showcase Camp, he had 14 out of 15 points on field goals. He flashed excellent potential in all areas of the camp. He had great kicks. His overall score on kickoffs was good, and his punting was good as well. But he's going to be a kicker. You have Andy Quinn you just brought in. You only need a kicker. So he did well at his camps, and he did well at other camps as well. Now, he only had a Boston College offer, but he camped at Ohio State. He's an Ohio kid. And going through some of the old 247 Ohio State Bucknuts, that's what they're called, posts, they were saying that they wouldn't have been surprised if Ohio State offered him. Local kid, good leg. So this is a good get for BC. And let me just say, we made such a big deal about punting last year being an issue. You looked at, they were dead last in the country in punts per yards per punt. You guys all watched. If you're listening to this, you watched BC football and you saw what happened there. It was a mess. But place kicking wasn't much better. Extra points was fine, but I believe they were again near the bottom of the entire college football world in field goals. They only attempted 5 or 6 field goals the entire season. because they had no one that was reliable enough. Now Luca Lombardo got hurt. He didn't play much. Liam Connor was asked to do a billion things for that special teams. But now you're bringing in a new kicker who can hopefully fix that. Now, I'm not naive to say I know what's going to make a good kicker and what doesn't. Playing in high school is very different than playing on a Saturday afternoon. It is. So I'm gonna withhold my judgment here. I'm gonna wait for John Hewitt to become the kicker and get him in a high leverage situation, a 35 to 40-yard field goal. When he starts hitting those regularly, I'll be a believer. I've just been a Boston College follower long enough to know that it's been in 20 years, BC's had one and a half serviceable kickers. You had the Aaron Boumeri a couple years ago that was pretty good, and then you had Nate Freeze who was automatic. Other than that, it's been an adventure almost every single year. So the hope is that Jonathan Hewitt will be that answer. But I have to say, just from a recruiting perspective, it's nice to see that BC went out there, and he was a funny one too, because if you follow on Eagle Insider, I get the list of all the visitors. That one snuck underneath my radar. They didn't tell me him. I don't know if it was a surprise, if it was whatever, but John Hewitt, I didn't know about him. He comes in, he visits, boom. He was part of that four Eagles tweet that they had. It was better than four is better than one. So this was, if you're looking for the big star rating recruits, this is not one that's going to get you all that excited. He didn't even have a 247 profile before this weekend, but he's a kicker. Kickers are a different beast. Kickers are not, a lot of times they're not rated very highly, and because it's an inaccurate science here. So Hewitt in. Now there's two more from this weekend that committed. On Tuesday night, as I'm recording this, another recruit committed. This was not one. I can't spoil it now. Hopefully he'll commit the next day. But this is a camp kid, a kid that came to one of Bill O'Brien's camps and wowed them. So it's not someone you know from the official visit list. It's not someone you've seen on Eagle Insider. It's not someone I've ever talked about. I got to be truthful. This kid, when he announces, I had not heard his name before he committed. But I will say this: when we talk about him, there's a lot to like about him. A lot to like. And I think in a developmental program, he's a perfect get. But he's another one. Then 2 weeks ago, BC landed another commitment that was silent. I'm not so sure he's still committed. I'll explain when he makes his decision, which I've heard is going to be coming soon. I'll explain more of that situation when I get to it. Now, our next segment. BC is they're at 20 plus recruits now. What position does BC still need to hit on? What position do I want to see the Eagles get at least one more good A+ for BC recruit? I have one that I think is really important, and I'll get into that in just a moment. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch Money, I realized how much money I was spending going out to eat with my family. I wanted to do a better job budgeting, saving some money. Monarch Money helped me see it, helped me make my plan, and with my wife, we worked on it together. We're doing a better job. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LockedOnCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LockedOnCollege for half off your first year. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor of Eagle Insider. We are the premier Boston College site. If you have not checked us out, we have great writers. We have everything covered. You need to come over to Eagle Insider right now. It's half off a subscription fee. I think you'll enjoy all the details and analysis that we have up on that site. Now, BC is in great shape. They have 20 plus recruits already committed. And so many of their positions are already filled. Like you look at running back, they have one commit. As I said before, there's other sites saying they have two. Billy Barrett is not a commitment. He is a preferred walk on. They have that position is done. They're not, Lamar, I got the list. Lamarcus Zinley is not coming. Jamal Rule is not coming. They have Cedric Addison, and they are done. But there's still one position in my mind that I want to see Boston College land one more recruit. And that position is not the offensive line. And I'll explain that in a minute. The position that they still need to get at least one more player is at the edge rushing position. I'm going to say edge rush right now. And here's why. You have Mason Leak. He's a top 247 recruit. He is going to be one of your starting edge rushers in a couple years. You have Dominic Funk from Zavarian Brothers. Obviously, he was recruited by Rutgers, Wisconsin, Pitt, good offer list. And, scouts I've talked to said BC should have been on him early. They did a good job of rallying and getting him at the end. So you had two. You need a third one. And that third one could be Carter Gooden. Carter Gooden, I talked about on yesterday's show, he needs to be the crown jewel of this class. But he could be one, and then adding even another could be it. And if it's not Carter Gooden, if he ends up at UCLA or Michigan State, maybe you just get that other one. But you need at least 3 edge rushers. So you got Gooden. Or you have Leak, you have Funk. If it's not Gooden, who do you go for? And I look at guys, Josiah Inyansi, he just committed to Minnesota. He's gone. Print Fox, he committed to UNLV. Guessing he was more of a backup plan. But I look at Logan Nagel. Logan Nagel out of New Jersey is down to just a few schools. He's down to Michigan State, Boston College, Rutgers, and a few others. If you can't get Carter Gooden, Logan Nagel is still a very, very solid recruit. He's rated an 89. He's a high 3-star. A good senior season or a good camp, he'll be bumped to 4-star. That's the kind of kid that I want. I mean, think about this. Like, you're looking at the bridge from Donovan Azaraku to your future. I still am worried about this season. Like, I think you could probably find some pass rush out of those edge positions. Quintavious Hutchins is probably still serviceable. You don't know what you're going to get out of a Jason Flint or a Josiah Griffin, but maybe they jump up or favor bait. But in 2 years, when you bring in 3 or 4 edge rushers that can really contribute, that could change the complexion of your defense. When you have Carter Gooden and Mason Leak out there, or Logan Nagel, that shows to me that you fixed this position. And of all the positions that I look at, offensive line, tight end, linebackers, secondary, the one position that I look at the future and I say, I'm not sure the answer's there yet. It's edge. It really is. Like, I look at linebacker. Already you have Jason Hewitt. You have Griffin Collins, I think he's going to be a name that you're going to want to watch for. And Zachary Thomas is one of the most underrated recruits in this class. He's really, really good. So I'm not worried about linebacker. We've talked about wide receiver, running back, quarterback, secondary, all stacked positions in terms of how I envision their depth going. It's that edge rusher that worries me. Defensive tackles up there too, but you can find big bodies that you can put in there. The edge with Eli Boykin and you got a few other names popping up. I want a short answer here. So Carter Gooden, Logan Nagel, Dom Funk. There's your three. There would be a short and Mason Leak. Four. You get those four. You have fixed a position that has really not been solidified, I think, post Donovan Azaraku. So that position to me, that position, I think, is the most crucial moving forward. I said earlier, offensive line. Yes, I would love to see Kai Pritchard there. But I got to say, the 247 staff has already put a crystal ball for him to end up at Illinois, which is what I said yesterday. Marky Walbridge, he still has a crystal ball to Michigan. I'm not sure what's going to go there. There's a couple more. There's at least one more that's coming this weekend, an offensive lineman. I'll have that up on Eagle Insider. But you have four. Maybe you grab one more. Five. You are fine at offensive line. Yes, I would love to see Kai Pritchard here. Yes, I would love to see Marky Walbridge here. But it's not the be all end all here. It's that edge. It really is. And I think that's why Carter Gooden's important. Some of these other recruits are important. So that's my thoughts on that. In our final segment, we're going to go past the Fab Four. And I want to tell you one recruit that's still out there that I think BC really needs to land. I'll explain why in just a moment. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black, and thank you all who have made Locked On Boston College your first listen every day. And to my everydayers out there that have listened to 5 episodes in a row, 10 episodes in a row, I want to thank each and every one of you that have made us part of your daily routine. We are a 5-day-a-week podcast. This is my month. I'm supposed to go to, I could go down to 3 if I wanted to, but I got so much to talk about. I can't take days off. There's no days off in this world. I wanted to be here 5 days a week. And I think I want to thank you guys for making this a place to go for all Boston College fans. And when you're done with this episode, check out Locked On ACC with Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dono. If you want to get more ACC centric news, they're the place to go. Now, I've coined the term Fab Four for the final 4 recruits that I think BC really needs to land at least a few of them for. The Fab Four are Marky Walbridge, offensive tackle from St. Sebastian's, Kai Pritchard, offensive lineman from Donovan Catholic. You have Carter Gooden from Tabor Academy in Massachusetts, and Femi Babalola, quarterback from Ravenwood. Those are my Fab Four. I think they're a better Fab Four than the Beatles. Just got to throw that out there. But that's my Fab Four. I've made it clear that those are 4 that I think are high priorities for this program. I think they are ones that the staff would take all 4 if they could take them. I don't think they're going to get all 4 of them, but that's where things stand. My bigger question is where things are changing. Who would be the one recruit that's already been on campus, that has already taken his official visit, that I hope that comes back around and commits to Boston College? And I have an answer for that. It's I think it's Carlsbad, California, linebacker Rocky Cummings. Now, Rocky, who would have been the second best name, Rocky Cummings would have been the second best name in this class next to Santana Carlos, but I'm sorry, folks, Santana Carlos, he oye como vad over to UCLA. So I can't make stupid Carlos Santana jokes for the next 5 years. I'm sorry. I know you're all heartbroken, but Rocky Cummings is right here too. And he is ready to explode. And I think this is one that I would love to see at Boston College. You have Steve Klein from Westwood, New Jersey, already committed at linebacker. I could see BC going for 2 or even 3 at this position. Now, you've already lost out on Ziggy Moore, who is going probably to North Carolina State. He already canceled his official visit. And Jaden Williams, who ended up in Indiana. So your board is pretty clear other than Rocky Cummings. Now, Rocky is a California kid. Not committed. He's not committed. That was not a slip of the tongue. He's being recruited by quarterbacks coach Jonathan DiBiase, who recruits part of the California area. Now, BC, to their credit, was in on Cummings before any other school. They had him in and they offered him, and he was one of those recruits that a lot of readers of my site, a lot of readers on Twitter are going, why is BC going after a kid with no offers? If you're guilty, hold your hand up and take responsibility for your actions. Because shortly after BC offered, he got offered by Arizona, BYU, Utah, Cal. There was a bunch of schools that were Arizona. They were all interested in him. So BC did a good job with Cummings and had him, on their radar early. Now, Cummings, he spent the last week, this week right now, he was in Cal. He was at his hometown. I don't even know where Carlsbad is compared to Berkeley, but home state visit. And I don't know how things have gone from there. I have not heard any crystal balls. I have not seen any commitments. So that looks good. He's now taking a midweek visit to Utah, who also has a bunch of linebackers committed already. So why do I think this is a big one? Because I think Rocky Cummings is he gives me flashbacks of the prototypical Boston College linebacker. Like watching his film, I close my eyes and I see so many guys like Mike McLaughlin, Kevin Pierre-Louis, Steele DeVito, like those types of just solid, good linebackers that can really make a good play for your team. And I would love to see him here. I think he would be a great fit. But you got to see if he is much more interested in staying out west, then Cal's going to be the favorite for this kid. I don't think Utah. I don't get the sense that Utah is a huge threat here. I think it's really BC and Cal, and I think you'll probably find out where Cummings' head is at by the end of this week, because he'll be done with his official visits. He's going to be done after Utah on paper right now by that point. So I would love to see him because I like Steve Klein. I like Rocky Cummings too. And I love to see this linebacker room just continue to grow, because after this year, you lose Bam Crouch. I believe you lose Owen McGowan too. I'm not 100% sure on that. But you have Jason Hewlett. You have Zachary Thomas. You have Griffin Collins. You have a bunch of new names that you bring in with Steve Klein as well, and maybe Rocky Cummings. And all of a sudden, your linebacker room is mostly Bill O'Brien guys. It's no longer Jeff Hafley guys. Because what was the knock on Hafley for a long time? He just took safeties and loved the speed, then moved them all over to linebacker, and it didn't really work. It had some decent success at different points, but it really wasn't successful. O'Brien's going more for those prototypical linebackers, the guys that made BC what they are today. I think Rocky Cummings will be one of those guys if he commits here, but we have to wait to see what happens. So that's the fun of official visit season. Now, on tomorrow's show, maybe one of these silent commitments will announce again, and then we'll have more recruiting news to talk about. I will love breaking down each commitment as they come along, but we are now 2 days away from the final official visit weekend for Boston College. The class is almost done. What will they get from this weekend? Who will be there? I'll get into all of that this weekend, later this week on the show. So follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Check me out on TikTok. I'm like the kids here. I got videos on there. I make custom videos for it. Check me out on TikTok. I think you'll love that as well. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button before you head out, because I am AJ Black. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day.